So here we are back in the studio for another podcast for Techland. This week we've got a very special guest who's literally just flown in from South Africa. So I'm really pleased to welcome Liam Sebanz. Have I got the pronunciation right there?
Yeah,
from
perfect.
From TecEx. So TecEx are a partner for us in Techland, and they make global logistics really, really simple, and they help us manage that global supply chain of how we get our ribbon product out all around the world in a compliant way. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that this morning. But before we dive into that, let's get to know a little bit more about you. So you've obviously just landed a couple of days ago from South Africa.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in South Africa?
From Johannesburg. It's kind of
Okay.
one of the main metropolitan cities in the country.
Okay, so we're in Johannesburg at the end of the year. Actually, we've got a trip with Techland and Pragma, the other parts of our business in Candio, where we're taking a group of partners to Johannesburg to then do some safari just outside.
Amazing.
So looking forward to that. We can
that's
maybe
very
look you up and
exciting.
you can give us some tips of where to go.
I'll give you guys a lot of tips. That'll be
Absolutely.
great.
So you've landed in the UK. You've experienced some fantastic places and spent a bit of time in London. You were saying that the Guinness is better.
The Guinness is much better here. I think the South African Guinness is a little bit more acidic. This one's a lot smoother, a little bit milkier.
Yeah.
And it's available everywhere, which is amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and then you're off to Ireland tomorrow to Cork. So
Yes.
I was saying there you need to be trying the Murphys because that's going to be another level for you.
No,
So
that's
fantastic.
great advice. Thanks for that. So,
But let's get to know you a bit more, and we usually do a few rapid fire questions. So let's start off with dogs or cats?
Cats.
Okay. Rugby or football?
Rugby.
Okay. Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Okay. And in terms of your favourite film?
Favorite film? Maybe it's Between the Lion King. Love that one. And honestly, I watched a really great film on the way here. It's called Babylon. It's,
I haven't
Brad
seen it
Pitt.
yet. It
It's
looks
kind of like old town Hollywood
yeah.
before they had sound in the movies.
Yeah.
But it was just incredible. Blew my mind on the way here.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so I'd highly recommend it. Might be my new favorite movie.
And if we were to look on your phone and we were to look at maybe your Spotify account or whatever you use, what would be coming up as the most played track or most played band?
Probably Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay.
Californication, stuff like that. Yeah.
Great track. Money or happiness?
Ooh, happiness, I suppose.
Yeah,
I can't go the
You'd be
other
mad
way.
to go. Who'd go the other way? Morning or evening person? Are you
Morning.
You're a morning person.
Yeah, morning work. I'd say morning from a work perspective and evening from a social perspective.
And summer or winter?
Summer, definitely.
Fantastic. You had to answer that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where you do.
Yeah, no,
Well,
absolutely.
it's great to get to know a bit more about you. Maybe we could now get to know a bit more about TecEx. Could you just tell us a little bit about what TecEx is, some facts and figures on the company,
Sure.
what you guys do, and
Yeah, so essentially, TecEx is an importer of record, and what that means from a practical perspective is, in order to import any technology products into any foreign destinations or any products really, in order to get them cleared through customs, you need an importer of record to be listed on the shipping documents.
Yeah.
What that means from a risk perspective and a process perspective is that we take on all of the legal and fiscal responsibility for that import, as well as sorting out all of the compliance requirements. So in essence and in summary, we do everything necessary in order to ensure that Techland's goods clear customs going into any of the 200 destinations that we import into.
Right. Okay. And so, more specifically, when you're looking at what you're doing for Techland, what would be some examples of the kind of work you've done with us and the kind of projects you've got involved in?
Yeah. So we've worked on a number of multi-country rollouts where we're shipping the tech from a single source of origin, and then we're sending that into multiple countries or foreign destinations.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I work a lot with the Techland team on from a quoting perspective. So what we refer to as the pre-live phase.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just assisting you guys in getting the correct numbers in place, maybe explanations on how to pitch it to customers, and then any explanations that are needed when the customers or partners come back with certain questions. So kind of just trying to support the Techland team in winning the business from right from the initial phases.
Yeah. And I think we put quite a bit of work into the partnership. So things like weights, dimensions of the products you've already got, the parts you actually really understand the products because of the time we've put into our partnership, which I think adds a lot of value and cuts a lot of time and hassle out of some of the issues that can come up. So as we've jointly invested more in the partnership and making sure things are kind of easier and easier for us to deliver a rapid service in response to our partners, is there anything that's really helped that or kind of informed us in being able to do a better job in responding?
Yeah, so the Techland team has been completely onboarded onto the TecEx app.
Yeah.
We've got a very user-friendly app that your team uses to load quotes, which eventually obviously become shipment orders. But the process works really well in terms of your team being able to get upfront costs, and then obviously giving us something to refer to when we have a look on our system and we are discussing a particular deal going into a particular country, and maybe one of your partners or maybe an end customer has a specific question on that particular country. It may be things like compliance requirements, it may be lead times, it may be the costs themselves. So our app has really facilitated the whole partnership between TecEx and Techland. And I think we've actually really come up with a great process flow in terms of how we work together in order to help you guys win more international business.
Excellent. And you used a couple of terms there, and maybe, for a lot of our partners and for us, we're very used to this, but maybe we could just explore them a bit more. You used the term importer of record.
Yes.
What does that actually mean for partners who aren't doing international business? Maybe they won't be as familiar with that.
Yes.
What is that? Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in essence, an importer of record is an entity that is registered in the country of destination.
Yeah.
So in order to import into that foreign destination, you'll need an entity registered that can list its name as the importer of record on the shipping documentation.
Yeah.
So essentially, without an importer of record, you're not going to be able to clear customs.
Right.
To the extent that the product being shipped has any requirements attaching to it that you're not necessarily aware of as one of your partners.
Understand. That makes sense. So from what you said, you really make what is a very complex area, international shipping, international logistics, import of record, customs compliance, all of these different things, a very frictionless, kind of easy process for our partners.
Absolutely.
And I think part of what we wanted to talk about today and talk to our partners about was really giving them the confidence to take on and win international business, multi-country deployments, and know that we've got their back when it comes to bidding for some of the opportunities that are out there or pursuing some of these larger opportunities.
Absolutely.
Through the partnership we've got between TecEx and Techland, we can absolutely have their back and make this stuff super simple, really.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, we've got a full door-to-door solution. So we take all of the responsibilities and obligations off of Techland.
Yeah.
We'll ask you what information we need, and it's usually very basic information. It's just stuff like the pickup location, the bill of materials, and the final delivery address. I mean, that's really the 3 bits of information we need in order to quote, in order to get the shipment live and get it picked up and delivered. I think that being said, one of the important distinctions we should probably make between an importer is that between an importer of record and a freight forwarder or a courier.
Yeah.
So TecEx itself is not a freight forwarder or a courier, us being the importer of record. But because we offer this full door-to-door solution, we ourselves partner with freight forwarders and couriers who will then handle the physical movement of the goods from
the physical logistics
from origin to destination. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I guess there must be markets. You must be able to divide the world up into easy stuff and really complex stuff. So my assumption would be, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand,
correct,
Europe.
Yes,
is pretty easy.
Yes.
What are the tough markets? What are the markets where maybe a bit of an alarm bell should go off?
Yes.
If somebody's bidding for something and they're thinking, "Oh, this could be difficult," or presumably the more simple it is, probably the lower cost it is for you to provide the service.
Correct.
If you're importing an importer of record in, I don't know, Rwanda, maybe,
Yes.
or
Absolutely.
maybe Iraq, Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
These things hype up in complexity and cost.
They
Is that
do.
fair?
That's very fair. That's a great.
And what would be those
a great
markets?
assessment. I'd say the most difficult countries that, or regions rather, that we go into is Latin America.
Yeah.
And Southern America, so
Yeah.
Central Southern America. The whole of Africa really is also quite difficult, and then certain countries in your APAC region, probably all the countries in APAC, other than your New Zealand and your Australia.
Yes.
So yeah, if you are going into one of those, riskier emerging market type countries, I'd say the legislation is a lot more antiquated. The import is thus a lot more difficult to achieve.
Yeah.
And then the risk also becomes a lot higher from a TecEx risk perspective. So the fees will go up from both, often a freight perspective, as well as from an importer of record perspective. Your brokerage is going to be more expensive. Your customs clearance costs are going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
And then I suppose also your final mile delivery from customs to the final destination, because there's all of these physical risks on the ground.
Yeah.
Those costs are also more expensive in those countries. Yeah.
From the perspective then, there are some really interesting markets there that you spoke about around the world and increasing levels of complexity and challenge. I'd guess that in some of the global markets, anti-bribery and corruption legislation and some of the kind of facilitation payment requirements, some of those things can become issues. And of course, as businesses, we and business leaders and we all really want to make sure that we're not contravening any of those kind of ABC issues.
Yes.
Is that something that you've got experience of, and how can you help in that? How does that piece work? Because that must be a tough challenge in some of these markets you're talking about.
No, absolutely. So we have a dedicated R&D team that goes to great lengths to ensure that all of our in-country teams comply with the relevant laws and pieces of legislation that are in place, like you mentioned earlier. The focus at TecEx is really on compliance and making sure that every single import we complete is by the book. We do ensure that your ABC is complied with across all of the lanes that we import into. We don't import into any embargoed or sanctioned countries. You'll often see, due to the fact that regulatory changes are obviously happening on the ground every single day, we do have to render certain countries inactive for certain periods of time. We don't currently go into Russia or Ukraine, for example. We definitely focus on compliance and making sure that everything is done by the book. Your partners can rest assured that everything will be in place from.
Fantastic. That really is so important as we all look at that area of our business and want to make sure that we're absolutely compliant. And the fact that through this relationship, through our partnership, our partners can do that with absolute confidence and know they're not going to fall foul of, as you say, that the compliance, regulatory, embargo countries, all that sort of stuff is absolutely critical.
Absolutely.
So, are there any markets you'd highlight at the moment? You mentioned Russia and Ukraine. If they pop up, what markets set the alarm bells off for you at the moment? If you get a kind of request in, maybe not the totally embargoed markets, but what would be a couple of examples? You mentioned Vietnam earlier. Any other examples of countries that we could just say to partners now? If you're thinking of shipping into there, it is going to be a bit more complex, and it is going to take a bit longer. Prepare yourself for maybe a slightly longer supply journey than dropping it into France or Germany.
Absolutely. Vietnam is probably the worst one at the moment. Incredibly difficult to get in there, and it takes an incredibly long period of time for us to get the compliance in place before the import. Egypt, incredibly difficult. I'd say Brazil, from a LATAM perspective. I think those are the top three.
Okay. And they're big markets as well. Really, they're not. Not
they're
insignificant.
Big markets, No. So they're obviously positioned across the globe, and I think one of the important things to probably mention in that regard is TecEx always ensures that all of the compliance is done on an upfront basis.
Yeah.
We'll never send a shipment, knowing that there's potentially something that's going to result in the shipment getting stuck or there being an issue at customs.
Yeah.
So from a lead time perspective, we would like your partners to perhaps understand that there are all of the processes that we're following and the value that we're really adding.
Yeah.
It happens before the shipment leaves.
Yes.
The majority of it, at least. So
you've done your due diligence on that market and that supply route and are confident you can deliver.
And on that specific shipment. So we know when that shipment arrives at customs in Vietnam that it'll clear legally and successfully, and we'll be able to deliver as soon as it clears customs.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're talking about kind of tips for partners to engage in this. One, I suppose firstly we're saying, know that we can do this. This is our day job. This is what we specialise in our partnership together, and obviously TecEx specifically. We've talked about the kind of preparation around the key information required and the fact that we've already got a lot of that loaded in around the bill of materials and the weights, the dimensions. So we've put a lot of pre-work into this.
Yes.
In terms of sharing, I guess share the opportunity as early as possible with us. We can provide a specific quote for that market. Yeah. We've talked about the kind of the difficult markets.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd highlight in terms of messaging you want to get across to our partners?
I think the important thing that your partners should understand is that Techland through TecEx can get into more than 200 destinations across the globe. We're happy for you to white label our services to your partners. From your partner's perspective, they're not going to see TecEx. They're going to be dealing directly with Techland, and Techland will deal directly with TecEx. But from their perspective, everything's going to be totally smooth, full door-to-door solution from the moment it's picked up to the moment it's delivered in the foreign destination.
Fantastic. And just to kind of finish up, really, are there any other last things you'd say? How would you summarise the partnership that we've got, the value that we add, and the opportunity that you think exists for our partners to get out into the market and drive this?
I think there's a lot of room for growth between Techland and TecEx. There's with everything we've been doing on our app, I think it's streamlined a lot of processes between our two businesses. And through that we are able to provide upfront costs to all of your partners and give them an understanding on what the compliance is going to look like, what the lead times are going to look like, and I think we've got a lot of opportunities in the pipeline that we've been working on, and we're looking forward to getting those orders live with you guys.
Excellent. Well, I think you work really closely with Elliot, who works in our orders team. He's a real expert in this area as well, thanks to you and the training and the work that you've done with him. So if you've got any opportunities or you just want to understand how you could bid for multi-market, multi-country opportunities, then make contact with us, speak to our sales team or speak specifically to Elliot, because he'll be able to pull this together and provide you what you need to drive this opportunity. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you doing the session with us today, and look forward to spending the rest of the day with you. And I think we've got a game of table tennis planned at lunchtime.
Absolutely. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.